This is more of a narrative poem than the previous ones we've looked at. That is, it tells a story. We see a little drama played out. There are four characters in this poem: a young couple, a lifeguard and his girlfriend, and an older married couple who watch them. The action of the poem takes place on a beach, and the speaker of the poem is the wife of the older married couple. The older couple is watching a spat, an argument that the younger couple is having. We're walking on the boardwalk but stop when we see a lifeguard and his girlfriend fighting. We can't hear what they're saying, but it is as good as a movie. We sit on a bench to find out how it will end. Now, one of the points of the poem is that neither of the older people watching this fight can hear what is being said. They don't know the younger couple. They don't know what they're fighting about, but they speculate. And as they speculate, we learn more about the older people and their relationship than we do about the younger ones. I can tell by her body language he's done something really bad. She stands at the bottom of the ramp that leads to his hut. He tries to walk halfway down to meet her, but she keeps signaling, "Don't come closer." My husband says, "Boy, he's sure in for it," and I say he deserves whatever's coming to him. Well, now that's interesting. That tells us a lot about the speaker. Her life experiences prompt her to sympathize with the girl, not the guy, even though she doesn't know the people or what they're fighting about. The older people speculate in different ways about this fight. My husband thinks the lifeguard's cheated, but I think she's sick of him working only part-time, or maybe he forgot to put the rent in the mail. The lifeguard tries to reach out, and she holds her hand like Diana Ross when she performed "Stop in the Name of Love." The husband assumes a specific act, cheating. Perhaps that assumption suggests something about the husband. The wife assumes that the lifeguard is just an irresponsible deadbeat and the girl is sick of him. We haven't yet talked about allusions in poetry, but we'll do that soon. An allusion is a reference, sometimes direct, sometimes indirect, to a historical person, event, or document. In this instance, the allusion is to a popular singer and song of the 1960s. Diana Ross and the Supremes was a popular Motown singing group, and one of their big songs was "Stop in the Name of Love." You may never have heard of it, but if you had been alive in the 1960s, you couldn't have missed it. When Diana Ross sung that, she would hold both arms straight out, palms up. And it makes logical sense that the speaker, who was a young person in the 1960s, would think of that image. Note that the husband thinks it's all kind of a joke. The guy's cheated, so thinks the husband, so he has to endure the girl's wrath for a while. Then they'll continue on. Big deal. The red flag that slaps against his station means strong currents. She has to just get it out of her system, my husband laughs. We haven't talked about symbolism yet either, but we'll do that soon also. A symbol is a tangible object that stands for an intangible concept. The strong ocean currents that are signaled by the flapping of the red flag symbolize the strong emotional currents moving between the lifeguard and his girlfriend. But if you didn't get that symbol, don't worry about it. Just enjoy the narrative. Whereas the husband thinks it's a joke, the guy's cheated, no big deal, the wife becomes really invested in her images of what has happened. She really wants the girl to leave him for good. But I'm not laughing. I start to coach the girl to leave the no-good lifeguard. But my husband predicts she'll never leave. But then note what happens. The conflict shifts from the young couple to the older couple. The speaker has plenty of issues with her husband, and he has plenty of issues with her, and it all spills out. Let me read several lines of the back and forth. I'm angry at him for seeing the glee in their situation and say, that's your problem. You think every fight is funny. You never take her seriously. And he says, you never even give the guy a chance, and you're always nagging, so how can he tell the real issues from the nitpicking? And I say, she doesn't nitpick. And he says, oh, really? Maybe he should start recording her tirades. And I say, maybe he should help out more. And he says, maybe she should be more supportive. And I say, do you mean supportive or do you mean support him? And my husband says that he's doing the best he can, that he's a lifeguard for Christ's sake. And I say that her job's much harder, that she's a waitress who works nights carrying heavy trays and is hit on all the time by creepy tourists. And he just sits there most days napping and listen to Power 96. And then, ooh, he gets to be the big hero, blowing his whistle and running into the water to save beach bunnies who flatter him. And my husband says it's not as though she's Miss Innocence. And what about the way she flirts, giving free refills when her boss isn't looking, or cutting extra pieces of pie to get bigger tips? Oh no, she wouldn't do that because she's a saint and he's a devil. And I say, I don't know why you just can't admit that he's a jerk. And my husband says, I don't know why you can't admit she's a killjoy. So they make all kinds of assumptions about this younger couple that they don't know to be true. But even though they seem to be on the surface arguing about the younger couple, they're really expressing dissatisfactions they feel with each other. He should be more supportive. She shouldn't be a killjoy, and back and forth. But then the younger couple's argument is over. And then out of the blue, the couple is making up. The red flag flutters, then hangs limp. She has her arms around his neck and is crying into his shoulder. He whisks her up into his hut. We look around, but no one is watching us. Note that symbol again. The red flags are blowing hard earlier, meaning strong currents, both literal and emotional. Now the flags have gone limp. Those currents have died down, reflecting that the couple has made up. Whatever their differences were, they've gotten beyond them. She puts her arms around his neck. He whisks her up and carries her into his hut, where, presumably, the making up will be carried on with more energy and enthusiasm. But there's no suggestion that the older couple has resolved their differences. So, this is an interesting enough little tableau, but what is this poem really about? Like all other poems we've looked at so far, it's about seeing. I guess if I were going to state a theme of the poem, it would be this: how we view the world is a product of how we've lived, with whom we've lived, what our experiences have been, how our values have been shaped, our Weltanschauungs, our worldviews. You know, I've made a short video on the word Weltanschauung. It's a big, fancy German word, but it's a really important word for literature. So please watch that little video at your leisure. This poem dramatizes the point that we interpret reality not based on evidence so much as upon our own internal feelings, beliefs, and dispositions. The older couple has no idea what the younger couple is fighting about. They have no idea what the young woman does for a living, what kind of personalities the young people have, but they make lots and lots of assumptions, and those assumptions determine their opinions. And so this little scene makes a large point about life. It's impossible for us to be totally objective. Our opinions are colored by the lives we have led.